At the turn of the 20th century, the world was changing at an incredible pace. New York City, well, it was right at the heart of this transformation. The city seemed like a beacon of hope, drawing in millions from all corners of the globe. Folks arrived searching for a new life, hoping to escape poverty and persecution. But for most, that dream faded pretty quickly into a much harsher reality. The city was full of sharp contrasts. There was unimaginable wealth, but also desperate poverty. Among the waves of immigrants coming in from Sicily, there was the Morello family. They were from Corleone, a name that would become infamous later on in popular culture. The family was led by Giuseppe Morello, a sharp-minded man known for his disabled right hand, which earned him the nickname the Clutch Hand. They weren't chasing the American dream in the usual way. They were actually escaping a criminal past in Italy, looking for a new place to put their skills to use. The story of the Morello family doesn't actually start in the busy streets of New York, but in the rugged, sun-baked hills of Sicily. More specifically, the town of Corleone. Giuseppe Morello, the family patriarch, was born in 1867. His father died young, and his mother remarried into the Terranova family, bringing Vincenzo, Ciro, and Niccolo into Giuseppe's life. From a young age, he got involved with local criminal clans, or kosh. Life in Corleone was tough. For ambitious guys like Giuseppe, crime wasn't just a temptation, it was a real career path. The dawn of the 20th century saw the Morello family solidifying their base of power in East Harlem. Their operations were centered around a cluster of tenements on East 107th Street. This was not just a collection of thugs, it was a highly organized and disciplined group under the absolute command of Giuseppe the Clutch Hand Morello. The family's strength came from its deep roots in the local community. They weren't outsiders preying on the neighborhood, they were part of its fabric. Their most reliable and widespread source of income was the protection racket. Business owners, from small pushcart vendors to larger factories, were forced to pay a weekly tribute to the family. Another key venture was their sophisticated counterfeiting ring. The family produced remarkably high-quality fake $5 bills, which were known on the street as Morello Fives. The family also pioneered what would become known as labor racketeering. Ciro, the artichoke king Terranova in particular, excelled in this area. By 1905, Giuseppe Morello's influence had expanded far beyond the confines of East Harlem. This status earned him the unofficial but widely recognized title of Capo di tutti capi, or boss of all bosses. When disputes arose between different gangs, they came to Morello for mediation, and his word was law. His authority was absolute. He was building the foundation of what would later be known as the Commission, a governing body for the Mafia. He was the first to truly organize the disparate Italian criminal elements into a cohesive and cooperative entity. One of their most notorious and gruesome crimes became known as the barrel murder of 1903. The story began when a barrel left on a street corner in Manhattan started to attract suspicion. When police opened it, they discovered the mutilated body of a man. He had been stabbed dozens of times and his throat was slit. The victim was eventually identified as Benedetto Madonia, a member of the Morello crew. While the local police struggled to make a murder case, another government agency was closing in. The United States Secret Service had been investigating the Morello Fives for years. The investigation was led by Chief William J. Flynn, a determined and resourceful lawman. Unlike local police, who were often stymied by the Mafia's code of silence, the Secret Service employed different tactics. They focused on the evidence, following the trail of counterfeit money back to its source. Agents patiently cultivated informants, not from the hardened inner circle, but from the periphery of the organization. The turning point came in late 1909. Armed with overwhelming evidence and testimony from several informants, the Secret Service was finally ready to strike. In January 1910, the trial of Giuseppe Morello, Ignazio Saietta, and several of their key associates began. On February 19, 1910, Giuseppe Morello and Ignazio Saietta were found guilty. Morello, the powerful boss of all bosses, was sentenced to 25 years in prison. They were sent to the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary, a high-security prison far from their New York power base. The imprisonment of Morello and Saietta sent shockwaves through the New York underworld. The Morello family was suddenly decapitated. With its founder and most powerful leader behind bars, the organization was thrown into chaos. When Giuseppe Morello was released from Atlanta Federal Penitentiary in 1920, he returned to a New York underworld that was almost unrecognizable. The passage of the Volstead Act in 1919 had created an ocean of illicit profit. A new generation of younger, more ambitious, and decidedly more Americanized gangsters was rising to power. These men, like Giuseppe Joe the Boss Masseria, had built vast bootlegging empires. Morello, once the feared boss of all bosses, found himself in the humiliating position of having to serve as a counselor or consigliere to Masseria, the man who had usurped his throne. The simmering tensions within the New York Mafia finally exploded into a full-scale conflict known as the Castellamarese War from 1930 to 1931. This was a generational and cultural struggle for the soul of the American Mafia. Giuseppe Morello, in his role as Masseria's top advisor, was a prime target. On August 15, 1930, while collecting receipts in his East Harlem office, the boss of all bosses met his end. The war culminated in the assassination of Joe Masseria himself in April 1931, an act orchestrated by his own lieutenants, Charles Lucky Luciano and Vito Genovese. With Masseria dead, Maranzano declared himself the new capo di tutti capi. However, his reign was short-lived. Luciano abolished the title of boss of all bosses, establishing the commission in its place. The story of the Morello Crime Family is more than just a chapter in the history of the New York underworld. It is the foundational text from which the entire saga of the American Mafia was written. Their names may be less famous than those of Luciano, Costello, or Gotti, but their impact was arguably more profound. To understand the complex history of organized crime in America, one must first understand the story of the family from Corleone who started it all.